The narrative opens with a scene of the female protagonist, Neon, immersed in the mechanical task of repairing an automobile alongside her academic peer Mangyuan. Their focused labor is abruptly disrupted when a male student, emerging unexpectedly from beneath the vehicle, startles Neon. This provokes an immediate and protective reaction from Mangyuan, who confronts the interloper with a pointed question regarding his awareness of Neon's romantic affiliation. As if summoned by the confrontation, the male lead, Zichen, who is indeed Neon's boyfriend, makes his appearance, establishing the central dynamic. The story then transitions to a pivotal sequence from the past, detailing Neon's aspirational pursuit of enrollment at a prestigious university, a goal toward which she had dedicated immense effort and study. On the day of her crucial entrance examination, tragedy strikes as she is involved in a cycling mishap. This incident necessitates her hospitalization, irrevocably shattering her dream of attending the elite institution and casting a shadow over her academic future. In a subsequent narrative thread, Zichen is depicted returning from overseas, reuniting with his closest companion, Xingyu. This homecoming is marred by domestic discord, as Zichen finds himself in profound conflict with his father upon returning to the family residence. Simultaneously, a medical revelation comes to light for Neon's father. The attending physician clarifies that his daughter's collapse was not the result of a traffic accident, but rather a physical manifestation of extreme stress and academic overexertion. The medical counsel is explicit. For the sake of her well-being, Neon must be shielded from excessive scholarly pressure. Acting on this advice, her father proposes an alternative educational path, urging her to enroll at Kdrama University, an institution perceived to present a less demanding academic environment. Neon initially resists this compromise, but her father's persuasion ultimately prevails. She acquiesces with a determined declaration, vowing not only to attend but to excel and become the top student at that university. Accompanied by her father, Neon arrives at Kdrama University, quickly discovering its unusual demographic. It has historically been male-dominated, though this year marks an exception with the admission of 8 female students. The university carries a notorious reputation as a sanctuary for underachievers, a place where students who have faced academic setbacks elsewhere congregate. It is for this very reason, a form of paternal discipline, that Zichen's father has compelled him to transfer to Kdrama University from his previously esteemed academy. The social ecosystem of the university is immediately established as Neon encounters a notorious clique of bullies, a trio led by the formidable Mingyuan. This group attempts to intimidate the newly arrived Zichen, only to be met with a formidable and chilling counterthreat that establishes Zichen's own capacity for defiance. In a separate but significant encounter, Neon meets Xingyu, who assists her by retrieving a dropped bag. A faint sense of recognition stirs within Neon, though she cannot immediately place him. Unbeknownst to her, they have a prior, fleeting connection from a past academic competition. Neon settles into her dormitory, where she is greeted by her effervescent and immediately friendly roommate, Yui. The two form an instant bond. The gender imbalance at Kdrama University, skewing toward more male students, results in heightened attention for the female enrollees. Yui whimsically compares their campus walks to traversing a red carpet. Neon, a dedicated scholar by nature, is quietly impressed upon observing Xingyu's studious demeanor. Yui provides context, identifying Xingyu as the university's second most esteemed male student. It's Mr. Wonderful number 2. Later, in the cafeteria, Yui points out the holder of the primary title, Mr. Wonderful number 1, Zichen. The sight of Zichen triggers a torrent of rage within Neon. She launches herself at him in a furious assault, a reaction rooted in a past grievance. A flashback elucidates the source of her anger. During the incident where she fainted from her bicycle, Zichen, witnessing her fall without an apparent collision, mistakenly believed she was feigning injury. Though she pleaded with him to transport her to her examination venue before losing consciousness, and he ultimately did take her to a hospital, Neon harbors an unwavering conviction in the present. She believes he is directly responsible for her missing the life-changing exam, even accusing him of a hit and run. In her fury, she attacks him 3 times. He manages to deflect the first 2 strikes, but the third connects as a sharp slap across his face. This public altercation becomes instant fodder for campus gossip, expertly curated and disseminated by a student named Zio Huang, an avid social media poster and campus journalist who perpetually roams with a camera. He spins a sensational narrative, alleging a romantic history between Neon and Zichen, complete with infidelity and a dramatic, slap-worthy breakup. When Yui later suggests that Xingyu may harbor feelings for her, Neon deflects, confessing she already has affection for another, a boy named Tang Yu from a different university. She is emphatic in her disdain for Zichen, stating her feelings are purely of hatred. Seeking to quash the false rumors, Neon confronts Xiao Huang, demanding he retract the inflammatory post. However, her encounter with the blogger devolves into another heated argument with Zichen, who is also present. Xiao Huang, ever the opportunist, capitalizes on their proximity to snap more incriminating photos before making a swift exit. The plot then follows Zichen to a high society gala with his parents, where he mingles with acquaintances from his social stratum. There he encounters Hemi, a former classmate of Neon's. Overindulging in alcohol, Zichen becomes inebriated. His mother, fearing his father's wrath at seeing him in such a state, arranges for a taxi to return him discreetly to the university. The driver, coincidentally, is Neon's father. Zichen's level of intoxication renders him completely incoherent, leaving Neon's father in a dilemma. He calls his daughter for assistance. Neon arrives, aghast to find Zichen as the cause of the predicament. She angrily reveals to her father that this is the very individual she blames for her accident and academic downfall. Her father, a voice of reason, cautions against assigning blame without concrete evidence, but Neon remains incensed. Her father manages to deposit Zichen at the campus security office before departing. Neon, reluctantly drawn into the situation, is present when Zichen becomes ill. The security guard, operating under a mistaken assumption, instructs Neon to clean the mess, implying a romantic connection between them. Despite her vehement protest that she is not his girlfriend, the guard insists, nodding they arrive together. With no alternative, a seething Neon cleans up, directing her fury at the unconscious Zichen. In his stupor, Zichen then pulls her toward him, causing her to fall on top of him. Seizing an opportunity for petty revenge, Neon takes a marker and draws on his face. The following morning, a humiliated Zichen exits the security office to widespread ridicule after seeing his reflection. He vows retaliation against the unknown perpetrator, while Xingyu finds the situation particularly amusing. Neon's social circle expands with the arrival of another roommate, Chua. Academic life presents further challenges when Neon attends class, and finds herself sharing the space not only with the notorious bully group, but also with Xingyu and Zichen. Zichen deliberately occupies the seat beside her, provoking Neon into a physical struggle where she elbows him. He shifts away abruptly, causing her to lose balance and fall across his lap, inciting class-wide laughter. Zichen taunts her, accusing her of orchestrating the fall to gain physical closeness, which only intensifies her anger. The professor then broaches the topic of selecting a class monitor. Ming Yuan covets the position for the power it represents. However, the instructor, impressed by Neon's academic record, offers the responsibility to her, believing her capable of managing the role. Neon is reluctant as her heart is not in QR University and she contemplates withdrawal. Zichen, seizing the moment, publicly challenges her suitability, labeling her a nerd incapable of leading rebellious students and mocking her quick temper. Provoked by his derision, Neon defiantly accepts the challenge and the position. Zichen responds with a sarcastic, "Your Highness, class monitor." Her authority is immediately tested. Ming Yuan attempts to intimidate her into resigning, but the teacher intervenes, publicly lauding Neon's academic pedigree. Later, when Neon vents to her father on the phone about her desire to drop out, Zichen overhears and cruelly mimics her, amplifying her frustration. Ming Yuan and his cohorts escalate their campaign of harassment. They plant an envelope filled with insects on her desk, terrifying her. Subsequently, they coat her chair with adhesive, causing her pants to tear when she attempts to rise, a deeply embarrassing moment mitigated only by Yui's quick thinking and fetching replacement clothing. In her disoriented state, Neon mistakenly enters the men's restroom to change, where she encounters Zichen and Xingyu. Zichen mocks her predicament, but Xingyu kindly directs her to the correct facility. Learning of the torn pants from Yui, Xingyu rushes to Neon's aid, gallantly offering his own shirt to tie around her waist, a gesture that leaves a positive impression on her. Zichen arrives moments later, seemingly too late to help. The bullying continues as Ming Yuan seizes a treasured book belonging to Neon, one that contains a photograph of her crush, Tang Yu. This final violation galvanizes Neon. She confronts her tormentors and announces with fierce resolve that she will not relinquish her post as class monitor and will remain at the university. Witnessing this, Xingyu intervenes, compelling the bullies to return the book. Neon's visible joy upon its recovery piques Chua's curiosity, who snatches the book, inadvertently revealing Tang Yu's photo to the entire class. A subplot develops with the arrival of Hemi for a visit. While she's delighted to reunite with Neon and meets both Xingyu and Zichen, Zichen's indifference toward her is palpable and wounds her feelings. Neon's duties as monitor are formally outlined by the teacher, encompassing a vast range of responsibilities from academic oversight to custodial inspections. This leads to the awkward situation of Neon inspecting the boys' dormitory rooms. Upon entering Zichen's room, she finds Xingyu shirtless and in close proximity to Zichen, a scene that causes her to flee in startled embarrassment. Meanwhile, Zichen's father dispatches a personal assistant to monitor his son's activities at the university. Zichen, spotting the assistant, attempts to evade him and in his haste accidentally takes refuge in the women's restroom, where he coincidentally finds Neon. Forced into close quarters as they hide together, Neon deduces he is avoiding someone and attempts to force him into the open. Their struggle brings them into intimate proximity just as the assistant arrives, leading him to the mistaken conclusion that they are a couple. This misinformation is relayed to Zichen's parents, who rejoice at the thought of their son being in a relationship. The basketball game between Xingyu and Zichen becomes a focal point of campus attention. Initially, Xingyu's prowess dominates the court, earning him cheers from the female spectators, including an admiring Neon. However, Zichen soon finds his stride. In a forceful play, he strikes the ball, which then veers off course and hits Neon squarely on the head, rendering her unconscious. Xingyu carries her to the nursing room. When she revives, she finds Zichen at her bedside. Her anger instantly resurfaces and she orders him to leave. Zichen insists on staying, citing his responsibility for her injury. Neon retorts sarcastically, expressing relief that he is not running away from his responsibility as she believes he did before and notes that his culpability was witnessed by all. Zichen's laughter in response further enrages her and she departs. The conflict with Mingyuan reaches a new intensity as he bullies Neon in retaliation for her earlier complaints. He physically intimidates her, gripping her jacket until Xingyu intervenes, pushing Mingyuan away. Zichen concurrently brings a teacher to the scene who reprimands the bullies. In a surprising strategic move, Zichen then seeks out Xiao Huang and grants him an interview. In it, he confirms the romantic rumors, stating that while he and Neon did briefly separate, they have since reconciled and are content. This fabricated confession leaves Xiao Huang stunned. The dynamics within the bully group shift when Xingyu, disapproving of Mingyuan's actions, moves out of their shared room, causing Mingyuan visible regret. Later, external threats emerge as a man accompanied by several others arrives on campus seeking to assault Mingyuan. While other students retreat, Neon demonstrates remarkable courage. She steps forward and announces she has contacted the police, causing the assailants to flee and saving Mingyuan and his friends. However, Mingyuan's gratitude is short-lived. He later traps Neon inside a dark stockroom, locking her in. This act exploits a deep-seated phobia of hers, plunging her into panic. Desperately seeking help, she scrolls through her contacts and finds Zichen's number, which he had previously input into her phone himself. She calls him, explaining her trapped state and her fear, and pleads for rescue. Zichen sets out to save her, but once again Xingyu arrives first, having been nearby and heard her cries. He stays to comfort her while preparing to fetch the key, but Neon, terrified of being alone, begs him to stay. He obliges, soothing her by singing a song. Zichen arrives at the scene, witnesses Xingyu with Neon, and instead of intervening, turns and leaves. When Yui and Chuo realize Neon is missing, they alert a teacher, who eventually frees her and takes her to the nursing room. Zichen belatedly arrives, and the bully group, confronted with the consequences of their prank, expresses remorse. This harrowing experience becomes the final straw for Neon. She resolves to withdraw from QR University and formally discusses her decision with a teacher, who urges her to reconsider and grants her time to reflect. Neon agrees to think it over. During this period, Zichen exhibits clear signs of jealousy over the growing closeness between Neon and Xingyu, venting his frustration on an inanimate doll. As Neon prepares to permanently leave the campus, Yui discovers and shows her the video interview where Zichen publicly affirmed their fictional relationship. Neon is shocked by this revelation, but it ultimately does not alter her resolve to depart. Upon exiting the university gates, she encounters Zichen. She questions him about the post, and he explains his motive was simply to satiate Xiao Huang's curiosity and keep the blogger at bay by confirming the existing rumor. Neon dismissively states it no longer matters as she is leaving and walks away. Zichen, however, hails a taxi and follows her. When Neon notices the pursuit, she confronts him angrily. In the ensuing confrontation, Zichen pulls her to safety from an oncoming car. Despite this, Neon remains furious and continues on her way. She returns home to her father, where she breaks down in tears and firmly declares her intention to leave QR University for good. In the aftermath, both Zichen and Xingyu are depicted as despondent over her departure. Neon, conversely, initially feels liberated and happy to be home. She proactively seeks part-time employment to save money for another attempt at a top-tier university. However, her prospects are limited by her high school diploma, and despite assistance from Hemi, she struggles to find suitable work. A turning point arrives when Neon witnesses her father being involved in a minor car collision. The other driver aggressively threatens him and demands compensation. Neon intervenes, offering her own meager savings, and her father adds all his available money to settle the dispute. Later, Neon is devastated to learn the entire incident was a staged ploy by her father, who, facing severe financial difficulties, orchestrated the scenario. His ultimate goal was to create a situation that would compel Neon to return to Kdrama University, where her tuition was assured, thereby alleviating the family's economic strain and securing her education. This revelation leaves Neon at a profound crossroads, her future once again uncertain and inextricably tied to the very place she sought to escape. Following the emotionally charged revelation of her father's financial deception, Neon finds herself at a domestic impasse, her resolve to abandon Kdrama University now complicated by familial obligation and economic reality. It is at this juncture that her friend Hemi intervenes, suggesting a potential avenue for income, a position serving drinks at a local bar. Seeking independence and a means to fund her future aspirations, Neon prepares for the shift. Unbeknownst to her, Zichen chooses the same establishment for an evening out with his own social circle. From a discreet vantage point, he observes as Neon navigates the challenging environment. Each patron she approaches with drink inquiries responds with unwelcome advances and invitations to join them, all of which she firmly and professionally declines. Witnessing this spectacle, a complex mixture of shock, concern, and a possessiveness he may not fully understand stirs within Zichen. He confronts her, his approach characteristically blunt and tinged with judgment. Extending his own glass, he issues a challenging and condescending proposition. If she drinks from it, he will purchase the bar's entire inventory. He caps this with a searing question, questioning whether this menial work was the worthy purpose for which she abandoned her education. His words, intended perhaps to provoke or protect, instead ignite her pent-up fury. In a swift, defiant act, Neon seizes the glass and throws its contents directly in his face. The public altercation results in her immediate dismissal by the bar manager. While Zichen's underlying motive may have been to extricate her from what he perceived as a compromising situation, his method only fuels her resentment. Stalking away from the bar in high heels and high dudgeon, Neon's exit is further marred by a misstep that twists her ankle. Zichen, regret perhaps tempering his earlier demeanor, pulls up alongside her in his car, offering a ride. She initially refuses with characteristic stubbornness, but he pragmatically points out the dangers of her wandering alone at night. Reluctantly, she accepts. He drives her home, where an encounter with her father awaits. Her father expresses sincere gratitude to Zichen for ensuring her safe return and, in a moment of paternal vulnerability, confides in the young man about Neon's past struggles with stress and mental health, providing crucial context Zichen had previously lacked. Meanwhile, the administrative machinery of Kdrama University swings into action. Representatives visit Neon at home, presenting a compelling offer. They will not only welcome her back as class monitor but will also provide a stipend for her services. This tangible incentive, addressing her financial anxieties, sparks a flicker of hope. Her decision is further encouraged by the arrival of Xingyu, who delivers news that the remarkable group of bullies has genuinely realized the error of their ways and collectively wishes for her return. Weighed down by her father's situation and buoyed by these overtures, Neon agrees to reintegrate. Her return to campus is met with a visibly warm if awkward reception. In a misguided attempt at a welcoming gesture that aligns with their rough-edged personalities, the bully group places a live rat under her desk. The intended gift backfires spectacularly, terrifying Neon. One of the bullies, Chung, expresses naive disappointment, remarking he thought she'd find the creature cute. Ironically, Yui does find it charming and adopts the rodent as a pet. Now firmly re-established, Neon institutes a new, rigorous academic policy, mandatory group study sessions for all class members. The decree is predictably unpopular, with Xingyu being the sole enthusiastic supporter. During one such session, Mingyuan reverts to petty sabotage, sticking his foot out to trip Neon. She falls, injuring her hand. The act draws collective ire from the other students, and Xingyu swiftly escorts her to the nursing room for care. Moved by his consistent and gentle concern, Neon finally voices her curiosity, asking why he shows her such unwavering attention. Xingyu reveals a poignant connection. He has known of her since their school days, having been present at the same examination hall on the fateful day of her collapse. Neon, embarrassed, wonders aloud how she could have failed to notice a top student like him. This shared history deepens their bond, a development observed with increasing unease by Zichen. In a separate confrontation, Neon challenges Zichen for skipping the mandatory study group. Their argument, heated as always, leads them near a body of water on campus. In the midst of their quarrel, Neon's foot slips on the wet ground. Instinctively, she grabs onto Zichen and both tumble into the water. Zichen hauls himself out quickly, but Neon, struggling, calls for help. he returns without hesitation, pulling her to safety. For the first time, she offers him a genuine, if begrudging, "thank you," a simple phrase that sends an unexpected wave of happiness through him. Later, when Neon catches a cold from the impromptu swim, it is Xing-yu who tends to her, delivering medicine and quiet care which Neon receives with grateful warmth. In the classroom, Zichen's habit of sleeping through lectures draws complaints from other students, who accuse Neon of showing him preferential treatment because of their rumored relationship. As Neon attempts to deny this bias, Zichen awakens and, to the astonishment of the entire class, delivers a flawless, impressive monologue in English, silencing his critics and demonstrating a hidden depth. Despite this small victory, Neon's group study initiative continues to flounder, with attendance dismally low. Determined to salvage her project, Xing-yu and Zichen form an unexpected alliance. They challenge the rest of the class to a basketball game, wagering that if they win, mandatory attendance at study sessions will be enforced. The match pits the duo against the entire male cohort of the class. Neon, learning of the wager, attends to watch. Through skillful play, Xing-yu and Zichen emerge victorious. In the aftermath of the game, a shy student approaches Neon and hands her a love letter before scurrying away. This innocent act triggers overt jealousy in Zichen, who makes a sarcastic comment about aliens who could be attracted to someone like her. A heated exchange ensues, with Yui teasingly suggesting Zichen is in love with Neon, and Chua proclaiming Neon and Xing-yu to be the true couple. Zichen deflects with a laugh, claiming Neon is incapable of love at first sight. Stung and defensive, Neon angrily retorts, "Yes, we both love each other," a deliberately ambiguous statement leaving it unclear whether "we" refers to her and Xing-yu or her and Zichen, before storming off with her friends, leaving Zichen and Xing-yu to share an awkward, confused smile. As Neon brainstorms ideas for a university competition but hits a creative wall, Xing-yu advises her to seek Zichen's help, confident in his innovative mind. Zichen, however, upon seeing Neon and Xing-yu conferring closely, is spurred by jealousy to insert himself into the planning, announcing he can assist. Neon, still resentful of his barroom behavior, responds with a taunt and walks away. The subplot unfolds as Neon learns that Mingyuan's absenteeism from her extra classes stems from severe family financial pressures. He bears the responsibility of supporting his household. Demonstrating empathy and leadership, Neon calls upon her father, who directs a stream of customers to Mingyuan's family business. This covert aid allows Mingyuan to stabilize his income and refocus on his studies, fostering a nascent respect between them. The world of parental expectations intrudes as Hemi's parents visit Zichen's family estate. The conversation seamlessly blends business prospects with marital ambitions, as Zichen's mother openly favors a union with Hemi while his father remains non-committal. Subsequently, Zichen's mother orchestrates a meeting at their home, summoning Zichen and inviting Hemi. Zichen is visibly surprised by her presence. Throughout their stilted conversation, he displays zero romantic interest, instead steering the topic toward Neon, eager for any information about her. Hemi reluctantly shares a story about Neon winning a competition in school, the prize for which was a water bottle that later featured in an advertisement. This anecdote sparks an idea in Zichen's mind, and he abruptly departs. Soon after, he encounters Neon on the road and insists she get into his car. As they drive, Neon needles him about his privileged, rich boy life, causing his attention to waver from the road. A truck appears ahead, and in a split-second maneuver to avoid a collision, Zichen swerves, crashing the car into a barrier. Both are injured, with Zichen sustaining more serious wounds. In the ambulance, amidst pain and adrenaline, Zichen delivers two pivotal truths. First, he vehemently denies the hit-and-run accusation, insisting he took her to the hospital that day. Second, he confesses, "I love you very much." Neon is rendered speechless, her long-held narrative shattered. Recuperating in the hospital, Neon reflects on Zichen's repeated acts of saving her life and her consistent repayment with anger. Overwhelmed by regret, she begins to cry. Xing-yu finds her and she confesses her misplaced blame. He confirms Zichen's story, adding a crucial detail. On that exam day, Zichen's act of taking her to the hospital caused him to miss his own entrance exam, which is the true reason he ended up at QR University, a sacrifice mirroring her own. This revelation devastates Neon. She goes to Zichen's room just as he regains consciousness. She thanks him earnestly for his repeated rescues. Amused by her uncharacteristic gentleness, Zichen questions if she's the same Neon. She admits she now knows the full truth and asks why he never told her. He responds with painful insight, "Would you have believed me?" In a moment of tender concern, Neon reaches out to examine his injuries. Their proximity becomes intimate, and in a surge of emotion, Neon impulsively kisses him, then recoils in shock at her own action. Zichen seizes the moment, reiterating his ambulance confession and asking, "Now you are my girlfriend, right?" Flustered and shy, Neon offers no answer, fleeing the room. Her exit coincides with the arrival of Hemi, who announces to Neon that she has come to visit my boyfriend, and proceeds into Zichen's room. Dazed and likely hopping it is Neon returning, Zichen mistakenly pulls Hemi close, repeating his question about being his girlfriend. Hemi, ecstatic, says yes. Recognizing her voice, Zichen recoils in horror, retracting his words immediately. But the damage is done. Hemi, choosing to hear only what she wants, leaves the room and proudly informs awaiting Neon that she and Zichen are now a couple. Heartbroken, Neon departs the hospital, believing herself betrayed. Hemi proceeds to lavish unwanted attention on Zichen in his hospital room. Finally, exasperated, Zichen bluntly states, "I don't like you, I like Neon." Wounded, Hemi retaliates with a lie, insisting Neon could never love him because she is already deeply in love with her existing boyfriend, Tang Yu. Hemi then seeks out Neon and, twisting the knife, claims that she and Zichen are deeply in love with their family's full support. Neon, concealing her anguish, is further probed by Hemi about her feelings for Tang Yu. Neon admits with newfound clarity that her relationship with Tang Yu was never truly romantic. Upon his discharge, Zichen goes straight to the university to find Neon, but she pointedly ignores him. He corners her, demanding to know why she left the hospital so abruptly. She dismisses him coldly, focusing instead on planning the university competition with other students. He persists and she finally engages, leading him to reference his confession. Neon responds with painful detachment, stating that his feelings were one-sided. Zichen, sensing her guardedness, insists he knows she loves him too. Internally devastated, Neon denies it, using the upcoming contest as a shield. Zichen, refusing to be pushed away, declares he will help her with the contest, determined to remain in her orbit. In lighter subplots, Yui develops a crush on the owner of the coffee shop where she works, who reciprocates her attention. Unbeknownst to her, he is already in a relationship. Meanwhile, Chua and Yui orchestrate a dramatic makeover for Neon. When the newly styled Neon enters the classroom, she stuns her male classmates, who suddenly find numerous, flimsy excuses to engage with her. Xingyu gracefully helps her navigate the attention, offering sincere praise that makes her blush. Zichen, offended by their easy rapport, stages a ridiculous counter-display, returning to class wearing goggles and a jacket, boasting of his foreign education. The ploy fails as the boys remain focused on Neon. Tension escalates with the unexpected arrival of Tang Yu on campus. An uncomfortable Neon is approached by her old friend. Xingyu intervenes, nodding he and Tang Yu attended high school together. Tang Yu then asks to speak with Neon privately, leading her to the cafeteria. Zichen, predictably jealous, follows and forcibly joins their table. Tang Yu changes venues to a coffee shop. Zichen trails them. Mingyuan and his crew also arrive, intending to threaten Tang Yu for bothering Neon. However, Tang Yu turns the tables, insulting them and, more painfully, disparaging QR University as a whole in front of Neon. This finally provokes Neon's fury. She defends her university and cuts ties with Tang Yu, telling him to go his own way. Upon returning to her dorm, she symbolically discards his photograph, an act that brings a smile to Zichen's face. Zichen attempts another conversation with Neon, and in the process saves her from another minor accident. He chooses this moment to confess his love once more. Neon, still operating under Hemi's deception, angrily rebuffs him, accusing him of having a girlfriend. Confused, Zichen demands clarification and Neon names Hemi. Zichen immediately and forcefully clarifies the misunderstanding, stating he has no feelings for Hemi and she is not his girlfriend. With this barrier removed, Neon's demeanor softens into happiness and they finally begin to communicate openly. Their renewed connection is evident as Zichen sits beside her in class, their companionship bringing her visible joy. This budding romance does not go unnoticed and a watching Xingyu is visibly disheartened. In a moment of dramatic misunderstanding, Neon and Zichen are talking outside when a car pulls up and men usher Zichen inside. Neon, assuming a kidnapping, bravely gives chase, following the car to a luxurious estate. She calls the police. When they arrive, it is revealed that Zichen was simply summoned by his mother. Zichen's mother emerges, furious at the commotion and humiliated by the police presence. Neon, realizing her mistake, apologizes profusely. Zichen's mother, however, insults Neon and orders her to leave. Zichen, defending Neon, follows her out, apologizing for his mother's behavior and embracing her comfortingly. This scene is witnessed by Hemi, who arrives and directs her anger at Neon. Zichen, now unequivocal, tells Hemi that while she may have feelings for him, his heart belongs solely to Neon. A crestfallen Hemi departs. In an effort to solidify their new understanding, Zichen takes Neon on a proper date to an amusement park where they share uncomplicated fun and laughter. They return to campus hand in hand, radiant and clearly a couple. This intimate sight is witnessed by Xingyu, whose expression confirms his understanding and his profound disappointment. As Neon and Zichen share a hug, Xingyu turns away heartbroken. Xiao Huang, ever vigilant, captures an image of the happy couple, which he promptly posts online. Chung and others from the bully group, aware of Xingyu's feelings and noticing his absence, grow concerned. They find him on a deserted rooftop and, misinterpreting his solitude, fear he is suicidal. They panic, and Xiao Huang sensationalizes the rumor. Xingyu denies any self-harm intentions, stating he is not so weak. However, the emotional blow is compounded when he learns that Mingyuan is now dating Chua and that Neon and Yui are out with their respective boyfriends, Zichen and the unfaithful cafe owner. This news sends Xingyu into a deeper retreat, withdrawing to his room. During a group dinner, Mingyuan, perhaps trying to impress Chua, makes taunting remarks about Zichen's wealth. Zichen takes offense, and Chua diffuses the situation by leading Mingyuan away. Zichen, having previously seen Yui's boyfriend with another girl, confides this to Neon. Neon tries to warn Yui, but Yui, infatuated, refuses to believe anything negative about her boyfriend. The narrative takes a violent turn as the same gangsters from earlier confront and brutally beat Mingyuan. Neon arrives with Xingyu and Zichen. Zichen engages the thugs in a fierce fight to protect his classmates. During the chaos, Xingyu is injured while trying to shield Neon, sustaining a severe wound to his arm. All are taken to the hospital. The university administration, upon learning of the violent incident on the periphery of campus, decides to expel Mingyuan, holding him responsible. The student body feels this is unjust, as Mingyuan was the victim. Neon pleads his case with a teacher, but is told the decision is final. In the hospital, Zichen thanks Xingyu for protecting Neon, a gesture Xingyu dismisses as unnecessary. Neon, feeling responsible, stays to care for Xingyu. When his injury prevents him from eating, she personally feeds him, eventually falling asleep by his bedside from exhaustion. Zichen, visiting later, learns Neon made soup for Xingyu and petulantly demands she make some for him too. His jealous pouting amuses Neon, a sign of their now playful dynamic. Determined to rectify the injustice, Zichen takes decisive action. He meets with the university principal and accepts full responsibility for the fight, exonerating Mingyuan. He even produces the lead gangster to confirm Mingyuan's non-involvement. The principal relents, rescinding Mingyuan's expulsion. However, this heroic act places Zichen himself in jeopardy of being expelled. Mingyuan, learning the truth from a teacher, is deeply moved. He thanks Zichen and pledges his loyalty, promising to stand by him if ever needed. Neon, discovering what Zichen did, is both shocked and touched that he kept it from her. He explains he didn't want to worry her, and she forgives him. This act of defiance, however, brings Zichen to the attention of his controlling father. His mother had hired a private assistant to monitor him, and this assistant delivers a comprehensive report to Zichen's father, complete with photographs of Zichen and Neon together. Upon seeing Neon's image, Zichen's father is not just angry, he is visibly shocked and disturbed. He immediately goes to QR University to investigate Neon personally. This investigation unveils a buried generational secret. Neon's mother and Zichen's father were once deeply in love. A flashback reveals their passionate romance, which ended when Zichen's father, succumbing to family pressure, married another woman, Zichen's mother, devastating Neon's mother. The heartbreak drove Neon's mother to a suicide attempt, from which she was saved by Neon's father, who then confronted and physically attacked Zichen's father in retaliation. It is also revealed that the two men were once friends, a bond shattered by this romantic betrayal. In the present, as Xingyu is discharged from the hospital, he treats the entire group to a celebratory lunch. Everyone offers to pay, but Xingyu insists on covering the bill himself. Zichen, perhaps testing him or simply being his provocative self, seizes the menu and orders the most extravagant and expensive dishes available, running up a staggering tab. The table falls into an uneasy silence, as everyone is aware of Xingyu's modest financial means. The question hangs in the air: how will he possibly pay? Xingyu maintains a calm facade, insisting he will handle it. In a final, surprising act that blends generosity with a subtle assertion of dominance, Zichen quietly settles the enormous bill before Xingyu can even attempt to do so, concluding the meal with a complex, unspoken transaction that underscores the shifting dynamics and simmering tensions within the group. Following the tense conclusion of the celebratory lunch, the narrative refocuses on Neon's primary academic initiative, the planning and execution of a significant university competition, which she has aptly named the Wisdom Pouch Challenge. A critical hurdle is securing a corporate sponsor to fund the event. In a surprising and strategic move, Zichen intervenes. He brokers a deal with his own father, leveraging the family's corporate resources, and formally introduces Neon to his father as the capable and driven project leader of the competition. Initially, Neon is unaware of the familial connection, simply viewing Mr. Zichen as a stern but potential benefactor. It is only during their formal meeting that the truth is revealed, leaving her momentarily unsettled. Nevertheless, Zichen's father, perhaps seeing her determination or influenced by his son's uncharacteristic advocacy, agrees to provide the sponsorship. During this business discussion, Zichen's father inquires about Neon's family. With quiet dignity, she reveals that her mother has passed away. Zichen, present for the meeting, overhears this exchange but, absorbed in the logistical success of securing the sponsor, fails to perceive the deeper, unspoken reaction that flickers across his father's face at this information. Returning triumphantly to Kdrama University, Neon announces the secured sponsorship to her classmates, who greet the news with enthusiasm. However, a discordant note is struck when the remarkable group, including Mingyuan, refuses to participate in the project they had previously championed. Puzzled and concerned, Neon confides in Xingyu, who wisely suggests there must be a compelling, hidden reason behind their sudden withdrawal. The plot then intertwines with personal celebration as Neon prepares for her father's birthday. Zichen, now officially her boyfriend, is set to attend the family gathering, a significant step in their relationship. However, this plan is abruptly derailed when he receives an urgent summons from his mother. Returning home, he is confronted with a shocking familial revelation. His mother, having discovered an old photograph of Neon's mother, has connected the dots. This woman was her husband's profound first love. She confesses her long-held pain, believing her husband never fully committed to their marriage because his heart remained with another. Then, leaping to a catastrophic conclusion fueled by Neon's physical resemblance to her mother and her father's strange interest, she posits a terrible theory. Neon must be her husband's secret daughter and therefore Zichen's half-sister. She implores, then demands, that Zichen end his relationship with Neon immediately. Shattered by this revelation, Zichen retreats into despair, seeking solace in the numb oblivion of alcohol at a bar. His mother, worried about his state, enlists Hemi to locate him. Hemi finds Zichen in a drunken stupor, repeatedly murmuring Neon's name. In a moment of cruel opportunity, she takes him not to safety but to a private location. As he drifts in and out of consciousness, mistaking her for Neon, Hemi stages a compromising photograph of herself beside him in bed and sends it directly to Neon's phone. The image, arriving on what should have been a happy family evening, delivers a devastating blow. The following day at university, a heartbroken and furious Neon confronts Zichen with the damning photo, demanding an explanation. Zichen, trapped by his mother's edict and the supposed familial taboo, and perhaps wishing to push Neon away for her own good without revealing the horrific reason, makes a fateful, cowardly choice. Instead of explaining the complex truth, he simply confirms the lie the photograph implies, stating with a hollow finality, "Yes, it's true." When she presses him, he repeats the affirmation. Believing herself betrayed and their love a farce, Neon, through tears, declares they should break up. Zichen, masking his own agony with a bitter smile, agrees. They part, each privately crumbling under the weight of the falsehood. Xingyu, witnessing Neon's profound distress, confronts Zichen, seeking the reason for the sudden rupture. Zichen, adhering to his tragic self-sacrifice, refuses to elucidate. He instead tells Xingyu that since Neon is now free, he should pursue her, effectively handing over the person he loves to his friend. To compound Neon's misery, a new student transfers into Kdrama University, Hemi. Seizing her chance, Hemi strategically inserts herself into the social vacuum. She orchestrates a seat change, displacing Xingyu to sit directly beside Zichen, and proposes a pact. She will pretend to be his girlfriend, providing a public shield for his supposed heartbreak and further selling their fabricated narrative. Zichen, in his state of resigned misery, acquiesces, and the two begin a very public performance of a coupledom that tortures Neon. Amidst this personal turmoil, Xingyu remains a steadfast pillar of support for Neon, quietly assuring her of his unwavering presence. Simultaneously, Yui's subplot reaches its painful climax. A group of girls confront her, claiming to also be girlfriends of her cafe owner boyfriend. Initially in denial, Yui is forced to witness his infidelity firsthand when she visits the coffee shop. The confrontation is brutal and public, leaving Yui humiliated and heartbroken. Her return to campus in this vulnerable state leads to an encounter with Chung from the bully group, whose poorly concealed happiness at her newfound availability only endears her further. However, through a friend's mediation, Yui later approaches Chung to inquire about Mingyuan's puzzling behavior. This inquiry unveils the true reason for the remarkable group's withdrawal from the competition. During the earlier gang fight, Mingyuan's family garage, their sole source of income, was severely damaged. He is now saddled with an insurmountable debt to the garage's owner, forcing him to abandon his studies and work to repay it. Moved by this revelation, Neon mobilizes the entire class and faculty, organizing a collective fundraising effort to help Mingyuan. When they present him with the money, his pride initially leads him to refuse. Neon frames it not as charity but as aid between friends. Hemi, ever the antagonist, arrives at this moment and maliciously reframes the gesture as pitiful charity, also offering her own money, which Ming Yuan scornfully rejects. Jingyu, observing Hemi's relentless cruelty, corners her. He questions how she, once Neon's friend, can act so maliciously. Hemi coldly reveals her motive: to drive a permanent wedge between Neon and Zichen. She insinuates that this should benefit Xingyu as well, offering him a clear path to Neon's heart. Xingyu, disgusted by her manipulation, angrily rejects her help and asserts his integrity. Parallel to this, Chua faces her own familial drama with the unexpected arrival of her long-absent mother, who abandoned her in childhood. Initially hostile, Chua, with encouragement from friends, agrees to meet her. She learns her mother has married into wealth. Swallowing her pride for Ming Yuan's sake, Chua asks her mother for a loan to settle his debt. With the money secured, she pays off the garage owner herself. When Ming Yuan discovers this, he is upset, feeling emasculated by her intervention. Chua, clever and assertive, strikes a bargain. If he wishes to repay her, he must rejoin the class and participate fully in Neon's competition. Cornered, Ming Yuan agrees, mending his rift with Neon and the class. This display of solidarity and community only deepens Hemi's seething jealousy. The web of mistaken identity tightens further when Zichen's mother shares her discovery with Hemi, confiding her belief that Neon is her husband's illegitimate daughter. Armed with this toxic information, Hemi takes it upon herself to confront Neon. She delivers the shocking accusation directly. Zichen is her brother, and therefore their relationship is not just over but was inherently forbidden. Neon is utterly shattered, left reeling with a sense of profound betrayal and biological disgust. Amidst this emotional chaos, a bright spot emerges for Xingyu. He receives a professional offer from a major music company recognizing his singing talent. He shares this joyful news with Zichen, and the remarkable group celebrates both his recovery and his new career path. Meanwhile, at a tense family dinner, Zichen's father repeatedly praises Neon's intelligence and drive. This constant adulation, coupled with his own suppressed feelings and his mother's secret, becomes too much for Zichen to bear. He erupts, directly confronting his parents with the agonizing question, "Is Neon your daughter?" His father's reaction is immediate and furious, not guilt but outrage at the absurdity of the accusation. He vehemently denies any possibility of being Neon's father. The relief that floods Zichen is instantaneous and overwhelming. In a moment of pure unguarded joy, he hugs his startled father, declaring this the happiest moment of his life, and dashes out to find Neon. However, upon reaching her home, his courage momentarily fails, and he retreats without seeing her. He instead finds Xingyu, exuberantly announcing his intention to win Neon back, finally explaining the entire twisted saga of the false sibling rumor. In a concurrent development, the two patriarchs, Zichen's father and Neon's dad, meet privately after decades of estrangement. Their reunion, laden with the history of their love for the same woman, is complex but not hostile. When Neon's father returns home, Neon, now suspicious of everything, confronts him, demanding to know the truth of her paternity. Her father reassures her with heartfelt certainty that she is his daughter, born of a deep love between him and her mother. Yet, Neon senses he is still withholding painful truths about the past, and leaves the conversation feeling isolated and confused. Zichen, now liberated from the familial lie, formally ends his charade with Hemi, informing her that all misunderstandings are cleared and he will reunite with Neon. A devastated Hemi is left to process her defeat. Zichen then proceeds to Neon, finding her amidst a pile of books. He embraces her and pleads for reconciliation. Neon, still operating under Hemi's poisonous lie, protests, "But we are brother and sister." Zichen finally, clearly and forcefully dismantles the misconception, revealing his mother's error and his father's denial. Neon then raises the second barrier, his relationship with Hemi. Zichen explains the entire pretense. With both monstrous falsehoods obliterated, their love rushes back and they reconcile in a moment of profound happiness and relief. Hemi, witnessing their reunion, is consumed by bitter jealousy and decides to leave QR University. In a final act of spite, she informs her father of everything, leading him to sever a crucial business deal with Zichen's father, triggering a financial crisis for the Zichen family. As the class embarks on a beach trip, a final bonding experience, the various couples navigate their relationships. In a comedic yet poignant moment, Chua dresses in an attempt to appear more traditionally feminine to impress Ming Yuan, but is met with ridicule from some classmates. Hurt, she runs off, only to be followed and sincerely comforted by Ming Yuan, signaling a genuine connection between them. After the trip, Zichen spends a peaceful evening at Neon's home with her father, symbolizing his integration into her family life. However, this domestic peace is shattered by the business fallout. With Hemi's father withdrawing his capital, Zichen's father's company begins a precipitous decline. In a misguided act of nobility, believing he should not drag his wife and son down with him, he visits his wife and proposes a divorce. She is heartbroken, and when Zichen learns of this, he intuits that his father's drastic action must stem from the financial disaster, not a lack of care. Meanwhile, Hemi's malice reaches its zenith. Consumed by vengeance, she hires the very gangsters who once terrorized Mingyuan. She orchestrates a kidnapping hoax, instructing them to call Zichen and claim they have taken Neon, demanding a ransom. Distraught and desperate, Zichen turns to his mother for help in raising the money. It is during this crisis that his mother confesses the full truth she learned from the family assistant. The company's collapse is the real reason for the proposed divorce. She also, in a significant turning point, expresses her acceptance of Zichen and Neon's relationship and provides him with the ransom funds. Zichen arrives at the designated drop location, only to discover Hemi masterminding the scheme and Neon, of course, not actually present. Neon in reality had simply gone to meet Hemi for a confrontation. When Neon returns to campus and learns from the remarkable group about her own kidnapping, she pieces together the plot. At the ransom site, Hemi makes a final, desperate confession of her love to Zichen. He rejects her unequivocally, reaffirming his love for Neon. Gangsters, discovering the bag contains only blank paper instead of cash, a switch likely orchestrated by Zichen or his mother, attack Zichen. In the ensuing melee, Hemi, in a twisted act of love, throws herself in front of a blow meant for him and is injured. At that critical moment, Neon arrives with the remarkable group and a teacher, who fights off the assailants before collapsing from exertion. Through the chaos, Zichen and Neon's eyes meet, a smile of relief and love passing between them. In the aftermath, Zichen and the injured Hemi are hospitalized. Zichen falls into a deep coma. His parents and a guilt-stricken Neon maintain a vigil. Hemi, confronted with the consequences of her actions, arrives with her father to offer a sincere apology to the Zichen family and Neon. A month passes. Neon, channeling her worry into productivity, leads her class to victory in the Wisdom Pouch competition, winning the sponsorship. Xingyu's singing career flourishes. During a visit to Zichen's bedside, Xingyu, attempting to provoke a reaction, leans in and teasingly threatens, "If you don't wake up, I will go after Neon." Miraculously, Zichen's eyes flutter open. However, the trauma has caused partial amnesia. He recognizes Xingyu but has no recollection of Neon, asking with genuine confusion, "Who is this girl?" when she enters the room. Xingyu explains she is his girlfriend, to which Zichen responds with incredulous laughter, unable to reconcile the idea with his blank memory. Neon is devastated. The class mounts a collective effort to jog Zichen's memory, recounting shared experiences. Neon even reverts to her original stern class monitor persona, reenacting their early clashes. When these attempts fail, she, in a moment of desperate inspiration, gets herself locked in the stock room again, recreating the scene where he once came to her aid. This time, however, the plan backfires. Zichen learns from Xingyu that he, too, has feelings for Neon. Racked by a misplaced sense of nobility and believing he is an obstacle to his friend's happiness, Zichen decides the best course is to remove himself entirely, announcing his intention to return to the United States. Neon, believing she has lost him forever, is overcome with sorrow. Zichen finds her sitting alone and, in a final, painful act of self-sacrifice, tells her he hopes she and Xingyu will be happy together. Crushed by this, Neon runs and jumps into a campus pond. Without a second's hesitation, Zichen dives in after her. As he pulls her to safety, Neon breaks down in heart-wrenching sobs. The sound of her despair, the feel of her in his arms in the water, it triggers a flood of returning memories. His amnesia shatters. He holds her close, whispering that he remembers everything. Their reunion is tearful, joyous, and absolute. The story concludes on the final day of the semester at QR University. The campus is abuzz with the bittersweet energy of endings and new beginnings. Zichen and Neon stand together, a united couple. Xingyu performs a song for the gathered students, having achieved his dream. Neon, smiling, remarks on how he has become a star. When she praises Xingyu's performance, a familiar, playful jealousy flickers across Zichen's face, and he pretends to walk away. Neon reaches for him, and with a smile that holds their entire journey, she tells him the simple, profound truth: "You are the one whom I hated the most and now love the most." In response, Zichen's happiness is complete. They join hands, facing their future together as the chapter of their tumultuous university life draws to a close.